The stars looked the same as always in the Kepler sector. Commander Taemin sat in his chair on the bridge of the research ship Velthari. His crew had been mapping this empty space for 3 months. It was boring work, but someone had to do it. "Commander!" called out Kira from her science station. "I'm getting strange readings." Taemin turned his head toward her. Kira was the best science officer in the fleet. If she said something was strange, it probably was. "What kind of readings?" he asked. Kira looked at her screen again. Her 6 arms moved quickly over the controls. "There's something big out there. Really big. It's about 2 light hours away." "Big how? Like an asteroid?" "No, sir. The energy signature is wrong for a rock. It looks like metal." "Lots of metal." Taemin stood up from his chair. In 20 years of space travel, he had never found anything interesting in empty space. "Put it on the main screen." The front screen showed only stars. Kira worked her controls some more. "It's too dark to see with normal light. Let me try different sensors." The screen changed. Now it showed a green glow against the black of space. In the center was a shape. It was long and wide, like a giant tube with things sticking out of it. "By the old gods," whispered Taemin. "That's a ship." But it was huge. The Velthari was a big research ship, one of the largest in the Confederation fleet. This thing made it look like a small boat next to a mountain. "How big is it?" Taemin asked. Kira checked her readings twice. "About 50 kilometers long, maybe 15 kilometers wide." The bridge went quiet. No one in the Confederation had ever built a ship that big. No one they knew could build something like that. "Is it moving?" Taemin asked. "No, sir. It's just floating there. No energy readings except what looks like background radiation." "Any signs of life?" "Nothing I can detect from here." Taemin thought for a moment. This could be the discovery of a lifetime, or it could be very dangerous. "Send a message to command. Tell them we found something big, really big." "Yes, sir," said the communications officer, "and get us closer, but slowly, very slowly." The Velthari began to move toward the giant ship. As they got closer, more details appeared on the screen. The ship was gray and black. Its hull was covered in scars and holes. It looked like it had been in many fights. "Commander," said Kira, "I'm seeing weapon ports, hundreds of them, and launch bays for smaller ships." "How many smaller ships?" "Hard to tell. But the bays are big enough for our entire fleet." Taemin felt cold. If this ship was still working, it could destroy everything in this sector. "Any power readings?" "Very faint, like a ship in deep sleep mode." They kept moving closer. The giant ship filled more and more of their screen. Taemin could see that it was not just big, it was built differently than any ship he knew. The hull was thicker, the weapons were bigger. Everything about it spoke of war. "Sir," said the pilot, "we're getting close enough to dock." "Any response from the ship?" "Nothing. It's like it's dead." But Taemin could see it was not dead. Not completely. Small lights blinked here and there on its hull. Something inside was still working. "Sir," said Kira, "I'm picking up writing on the hull. Strange symbols." "Can you read them?" "No, sir. They don't match any language in our database." Taemin made a decision. "We're going aboard. Kira, Sojin, Wubin, you're with me. Everyone else stays here and keeps scanning." "Sir," said Sojin, the team's engineer, "is that safe?" "Probably not. But we need to know what this thing is." They put on their spacesuits and took a small shuttle to the giant ship. Up close, it was even more impressive. The hull was smooth metal, but it was covered in burn marks and impact craters. This ship had seen real war. "There," said Wubin, pointing. "An airlock." The airlock was bigger than most rooms on the Velthari. Sojin connected their shuttle to it and began working on the controls. "The system is strange," she said, "but I think I can open it." After a few minutes, the giant airlock opened. Inside was a room big enough for 10 shuttles. The walls were lined with equipment they didn't recognize. "Artificial gravity is working," said Kira as they stepped inside. "And there's air. Old air, but breathable." The inner door opened easily. Beyond it was a corridor that stretched farther than their lights could reach. The walls were covered in pipes and cables. Everything was built on a huge scale. "This ship could hold 1,000,000 people," whispered Sojin. They walked down the corridor. Their footsteps echoed in the silence. Side passages led off in all directions. Each one was big enough to drive a ground vehicle through. "Look at this," said Wubin. He was examining a panel on the wall. "These controls are sized for hands like ours, but bigger. Whatever built this ship was larger than us." They kept walking. The corridor led to a large room filled with machines. Each machine was the size of a small building. "What do you think?" "They do?" asked Sojin. "I don't know," said Kira. "But look at the power cables leading to them. They're huge." As they explored, more lights began to turn on. The ship was waking up around them. "Commander," came a voice over their radio. It was the Velthari. "We're reading power spikes all over that ship. Something is happening." "We see it too," said Taemin. "But we're not in danger yet. Keep monitoring." They found elevators that could carry 50 people at once. They found rooms full of weapons that could destroy cities. They found sleeping quarters for thousands of crew members, but they found no crew. The ship was empty. "This is a warship," said Sojin, "but it's different from anything we know. Look at these weapon systems. They're built to fight something huge." "Or many things at once," said Kira. They spent hours exploring. The more they saw, the more amazed they became. This ship was not just big. It was advanced. The technology was beyond anything the Confederation had. "We need to report this," said Taemin finally. "Command needs to know about this ship." As they headed back to their shuttle, more systems came online around them. The ship was definitely waking up. "Sir," said Wubin, "I'm reading something new. The ship is sending out a signal." "What kind of signal?" "I don't know, but it's strong, really strong. If anyone is listening, they're going to hear it." Taemin felt worried. They had found something amazing, but they might have also found something very dangerous. As they flew back to the Velthari, the giant ship grew brighter behind them. Whatever it was, wherever it came from, it was no longer sleeping. And somewhere in the darkness of space, that signal was racing toward the stars. The next day, Taemin led a bigger team back to the giant ship. This time, Sojin brought more equipment to study the strange technology. Wubin carried devices to try and talk to the ship's computers. Kira had scanners to learn more about how the ship was built. The airlock opened for them again. The ship seemed to recognize them now. More lights were on in the corridors. The air was fresher, too. "The ship is fixing itself," said Sojin as they walked. "Look at those burn marks on the walls. They're smaller than yesterday." She was right. The ship was slowly repairing old damage. They could hear machines working somewhere deep inside the hull. "This way," said Kira, checking her scanner. "I'm reading a big room ahead. Might be the bridge." They followed a main corridor that led toward the front of the ship. As they walked, they passed windows that showed the outside. Through them, they could see their own ship, the Velthari. It looked like a tiny bug next to the giant hull. The pool corridor opened into a huge room with a high ceiling. The walls were covered in screens and control panels. In the center was a chair that could hold someone 3 times their size. "This is definitely the bridge," said Wubin. "But look at the size of everything. The control panels were built for hands much larger than theirs. The screens showed words in the strange language they had seen on the hull. Sojin found a smaller panel that she could reach. "Let me try to connect to their systems." She attached her equipment to the panel. For a few minutes, nothing happened. Then the screens around them began to change. "I think I'm in," she said. "The computer is responding." Suddenly, a voice filled the room. It spoke in the strange language, but somehow they could understand it. "Unauthorized personnel detected. Please identify yourselves." The team looked at each other. The ship was talking to them. "This is Commander Taemin of the Confederation Research. Vessel Velthari," said Taemin carefully. "Confederation not recognized. Please state your origin." "We are from the Velthari Confederation. We found your ship drifting in space." There was a pause. Then the voice spoke again. "This is the UHNS Eternal Vigil. You are aboard a ship of the United Human Navy. How long have we been offline?" "Human?" said Kira quietly. They had never heard of humans before. "We don't know how long you've been here," said Taemin. "What is your last memory?" "Patrol mission in the Outer Rim. Date 2387. We were damaged in combat with unknown hostiles. Emergency sleep mode was activated." Wubin checked his equipment. "Commander, if their date system is like ours, this ship has been sleeping for over 200 years. 200 years? The ship's voice seemed surprised. "Have you detected any other human vessels in this area?" "No," said Taemin. "We've never encountered humans before." Another long pause. "Beginning full system activation. Sending distress signal to Human Defense Command. Please remain calm." The room around them began to change. More lights came on. Screens showed new information. They could hear the sound of big machines starting up throughout the ship. "Sir," said Sojin, looking at her equipment, "the power output just increased by 1,000%. This ship is waking up completely. Is that dangerous for us?" "I don't think so. The ship seems friendly. But, Commander, the signal it's sending is incredibly strong. If there are other humans out there, they're going to hear it." Wubin was studying the screens around the bridge. "Look at this. The ship is showing us information about its systems." The screens displayed pictures and numbers. They showed weapons, engines, and manufacturing areas. Everything was on a massive scale. "These weapons," said Kira, pointing at one screen, "each one is more powerful than our entire fleet." "And look at this," said Sojin. "The ship has factories inside it. It can build its own replacement parts, even build smaller ships." The voice spoke again. "I am the emergency intelligence of the UHNS Eternal Vigil. You may call me Eve. Thank you for waking me up. I have been asleep for 237 years, 4 months, and 12 days. "Eve," said Taemin, "what happened to your crew?" "The crew evacuated in escape pods when we were badly damaged. I stayed behind to guard the ship. My orders were to wait for rescue or until repairs were complete. And now?" "Repairs are now possible. I am bringing all systems online. I have also sent a priority signal to Human Defense Command. They should respond within a few days." The team looked worried. If more humans were coming, and they were all like this ship, Things could get complicated. Eve, said Tae-min carefully. We need to tell our own people about this. They should know that humans are coming. Of course, I understand you need to report to your government. But please tell them that humans come in peace. We are explorers and defenders, not conquerors. How do we know that's true? Because if humans wanted to conquer this area, Commander Tae-min, you would already be conquered. The Eternal Vigil is old and damaged. It is also classified as a light exploration vessel by human standards. The bridge went quiet. If this massive warship was considered light by human standards, what were their heavy warships like? Eve said, so Jin. How many ships do humans have? I cannot give exact numbers for security reasons, but I can tell you that the human defense fleet operates in every sector of human space. We have colonies on thousands of worlds. Thousands? Whispered Kira. Yes, humanity has been expanding into space for over 300 years. We have met many other species. Most have become friends and trading partners. Wubin was still, studying the screens. Eve, these manufacturing systems in your ship, what can they build? Anything from personal equipment to escort vessels. I can manufacture food, weapons, tools, or even smaller starships. The Eternal Vigil was designed to operate alone for decades if necessary. So Jin's equipment beeped. Commander, I'm reading massive energy buildups throughout the ship. Whatever this Eve is doing, it's using incredible amounts of power. I am beginning repairs, said Eve. The hull damage will take several days to fix completely. I am also manufacturing replacement equipment for systems that were destroyed. Through the windows, they could see the ship changing. Large machines moved along the hull, fixing holes and replacing damaged sections. It was like watching a giant creature heal itself. We should get back to our ship, said Tae-min. Our people need to know about this. Of course, said Eve. You are welcome to return any time. I enjoy having visitors. It has been very quiet for 237 years. As they walked back to their shuttle, they could see the ship transforming around them. Rooms that had been dark were now brightly lit. Machines that had been silent were now humming with power. Commander, said Kira as they reached their shuttle. What do we tell Command? The truth, said Tae-min. We found a sleeping giant, and now it's awake. Back on the Velthari, they sent an urgent message to Confederation Command. They told them about the human ship, about Eve, and about the signal that was racing through space. As Tae-min finished his report, he looked out at the Eternal Vigil. The ship was brighter now, and growing brighter every hour. Somewhere in the darkness, other humans were receiving its call. Soon, they would come. And when they did, everything in this part of space would change forever. Admiral Hai-jin was drinking her morning coffee when the alert came in. She was at Human Defense Command on New Seoul, looking over reports from the outer colonies. It was supposed to be a quiet day. Then her communications officer ran into her. Office, Admiral, emergency signal from deep space, Priority Alpha. Hai-jin set down her coffee. Priority Alpha meant life or death. What's the situation? It's a beacon signal, Admiral, from the UHNS Eternal Vigil. Hai-jin stood up so fast her chair fell over. That's impossible. The Eternal Vigil has been missing for over 200 years. Yes, ma'am, but the signal is real. It's definitely her beacon. And Admiral, she's sending a full status report. Hai-jin followed him to the communications center. The room was full of people staring at screens. Everyone was talking at once. Quiet, she shouted. The room went silent. What does the message say? Lieutenant Boram, the communications chief, read from her screen. Ship status: operational. AI active. Hull repairs in progress. Contact with unknown alien species confirmed. Requesting immediate fleet support. Alien species? Hyajin felt her heart speed up. The Eternal Vigil found aliens? Yes, ma'am. According to the message, they woke up the ship's AI. They seem friendly, but the AI is requesting backup. Hyajin thought quickly. The Eternal Vigil was humanity's first deep space exploration ship. It had been built during the early expansion wars, designed to go farther than any human had gone before. When it disappeared, the whole fleet had searched. For years. Where is she? Kepler Sector 7, about 2 weeks' travel at best speed. And the aliens? Unknown. The AI doesn't say much about them, just that they found the ship and woke it up. Hyejin made her decision. Get me Captain Do Hyun. Tell him to prepare the expeditionary fleet for immediate departure, full battle group. Admiral, said Boram, carefully. Are you sure we need a battle group? The message said the aliens seem friendly. Lieutenant, the Eternal Vigil has been missing for 2 centuries. We don't know what happened to her crew, we don't know what damaged her, and we don't know what these aliens really want. We're going in ready for anything. Yes, ma'am. Within an hour, Captain Do Hyun arrived at the command center. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been fighting pirates on the rim for 5 years. Admiral, he said, I heard about the Eternal Vigil. Hard to believe she's still out there. Believe it, said Hyejin, and we're going to get her back. How fast can your fleet be ready? 6 hours for full preparations. But Admiral, are we sure about taking a battle group? If these aliens are peaceful, showing up with warships might send the wrong message. Hyejin looked at the star map on the main screen. The Eternal Vigil's position was marked with a red dot, far from human space. Do Hyun, that ship contains technology from our early expansion period. If these aliens have been studying it, they know things about our capabilities. We need to show them that we're not weak. And if they're hostile, then we show them why humanity rules 1,000 star systems. Meanwhile, in the Kepler sector, other people were also making decisions. Ambassador Yunseo sat in the council. Chambers of the Confederation capital ship Harmony. Around the table sat the leaders of 6 different alien species. The situation is clear, said War Leader Junho, a tall alien with 4 arms. This human ship is a threat. It must be contained or destroyed. We don't know that, argued Yunseo. The research team said the ship's AI was friendly, and it's been sleeping for centuries. If the humans wanted to hurt us, why would they wait? So long? Because they were waiting for the right moment, said Junho. Think about the size of that ship. Think about the weapons the research team described. No peaceful species builds something like that. Ambassador Young-Soo, who represented the sector government, spoke up. The question is, what do we do now? The ship is sending signals. If there are more humans out there, they're coming. How do we know they're coming? Asked Yunseo. Because that's what we would do, said Junho. If one of our ships was found by aliens, we would send a fleet to investigate. The debate continued for hours. Some wanted to destroy the human ship before more humans arrived. Others wanted to try to communicate. A few suggested running away completely. Finally, Admiral Nan He, the fleet commander, made the decision. We will move a battle fleet to the Kepler sector. If the humans come in peace, we will be ready to talk. If they come for war, we will be ready to fight. How large a fleet? Asked Young-Soo. Every ship we can spare. This could be the most important first contact in our history. Back on New Seoul, the human expeditionary fleet was almost ready to leave. Captain Do-hyun stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Indomitable. Around him, 12 other ships prepared for the jump to hyperspace. It was not humanity's largest fleet, but it was impressive. The Indomitable was a heavy cruiser, built for long-range operations. With her were 4 destroyers, 3 frigates, 2 supply ships, a hospital ship, and a diplomatic vessel. "Captain," said his communications officer, "Admiral Hyejin is calling." Do-hyun accepted the call. The Admiral's face appeared on his screen. "Do-hyun, remember what we're dealing with here? The Eternal Vigil was our most advanced ship when she was built. Her AI has been alone for 2 centuries. We don't know what state she's in." "Understood. Admiral, what about the aliens? Unknown species, unknown capabilities, unknown intentions. Treat them as potentially hostile until proven otherwise. And if they are hostile, then you show them why humanity has never lost a war." Do-hyun nodded. He had served in the fleet for 30 years. He had fought pirates, rebels, and hostile aliens. But this felt different. "One more thing," said Hyejin. "The Eternal Vigil is not just a ship. She's a symbol. When we lost her, we lost part of our history. Getting her back means something." "I understand, Admiral." "Good luck, Captain. Bring our people home." The transmission ended. Do-hyun looked around his bridge. His crew was ready. His ships were ready. In a few hours they would know what was waiting for them in the Kepler sector. "All ships," he announced over the fleet channel, "prepare for hyperspace jump. We're going to find out what happened to the Eternal Vigil." As the fleet prepared to jump, Ambassador Da-un boarded her diplomatic ship, the Peacebringer. She was humanity's best negotiator, experienced in dealing with alien species, but she had never dealt with a first-contact situation. Her aide, a young diplomat named Subin, helped her review the files. "What do we know about these aliens?" asked Da-un. "Not much. The Eternal Vigil's AI says they have 6 arms. They seem intelligent, and they found the ship by accident. They've been peaceful so far. And what do they know about us? Only what they learned from the ship. Which means they know we build big warships, and we've been in space for centuries." Da-un thought about that. First impressions mattered in diplomacy. If the aliens' first impression of humanity was a massive warship, that would shape everything that came after. "Subin, make sure our first message to them emphasizes peace. We don't want them to think we're invaders." "Yes, ma'am. But what if they think we're weak?" Better to be thought weak than to start a war by accident. The fleet jumped to hyperspace, racing toward the unknown. Behind them, Human Defense Command prepared for whatever news they might bring back. Ahead of them, 2 alien fleets moved toward the same destination. In space, the Eternal Vigil continued its repairs. Eve, the ship's AI, monitored all the approaching fleets. She had been alone for 237 years. Soon, she would have more company than she had ever wanted. The diplomatic ship Harmony was built for meetings like this. It sat in neutral space between the 3 fleets, a white ship with no weapons and plenty of meeting rooms. Representatives from all sides would come here to talk. Ambassador Da-un arrived first with her aide, Subin. They brought translation equipment and gifts from human space, artworks, music, and samples of human food. Da-un had been a diplomat for 20 years, but this was her first alien contact. "Are you nervous?" asked Subin as they set up their equipment. "Terrified," said Da-un honestly. "If we mess this up, it could mean war between our species." The captain seemed confident. Captains are supposed to seem confident. It's part of their job. The Confederation representatives arrived next. Ambassador Young-Soo led their team, along with several specialists and Admiral Nan He. They looked nervous as they entered the meeting room. Young-Soo was surprised by how normal the humans looked. He had expected something more alien, more frightening. Instead, he saw people who could have been Confederation citizens, just built a little differently. "Ambassador Da-Yun," said Young-Soo through his translator. "I am Ambassador Young-Soo of the Velthari Confederation. Welcome to our space." "Thank you," said Da-Yun, "though I think we should discuss whose space this actually is." Young-Soo felt worried. Were the humans claiming this territory? Da-Yun saw his expression and quickly added, "I don't mean we want to take your space. I mean that space is big enough for everyone." The translator, a young woman named Nan He, worked hard to make sure both sides understood each other. Some ideas were easy to translate. Others were much harder. "Tell me about your species," said Young-Soo. "How long have you been in space?" "Humans have been traveling between stars for about 300 years, said Da-Un. "We started on one world and spread to many others." "How many worlds?" Da-Yun hesitated. If she told the truth, it might scare them. If she lied, they would find out eventually. "We have colonies on over 1,500 worlds, research stations on thousands more." Young-Soo's team exchanged looks. The Confederation had 27 worlds and thought they were doing well. "That's a lot of worlds," said Young-Soo. "Space is very big," said Da-Un gently. "There's room for many species to grow." Admiral Nan He spoke up. "Ambassador, we need to discuss the military situation. Your captain has 13 ships. We have 59. But our sensors tell us your ships are much more powerful." "Admiral," said Da-Un, "Captain Do-hyun's fleet is not here to fight. It's here to rescue one of our lost ships. The Eternal Vigil has been here for over 200 years. How do you know it belongs to humans?" "Because we built it. We have construction records, crew manifests, and mission reports. The ship was lost during our early expansion." "Early expansion?" asked Young-Soo. "Yes. The Eternal Vigil was built when humanity was just beginning to explore deep space. By our current standards, it's actually quite old." Soo-Bin checked her notes. The Eternal Vigil was classified as an exploration cruiser when it was built. It was designed to operate alone for long periods. "Your exploration ships carry that many weapons?" asked Admiral Nan He. "The galaxy can be dangerous," said Da-Un. "We learned to build our ships strong." Young-Soo thought about what Commander Taemin had told him about the Eternal Vigil. If that massive warship was just an old exploration vessel, what did human military ships look like? "Ambassador," he said carefully, "what would you consider a real warship?" Da-Un looked uncomfortable. "Perhaps we should talk about peaceful things. Trade, cultural exchange, scientific cooperation." "Please," said Admiral Nan He, "we need to understand what we're dealing with." Da-Un sighed. "Our current exploration ships are about twice the size of the Eternal Vigil. Our military ships are larger." "How much larger?" "A standard battleship is about 100 kilometers long." The room went quiet. Even through the translator, the shock was obvious. Young-Soo found his voice first. 100 kilometers. "Yes, but please understand, we don't use them to attack peaceful species. We use them to protect our colonies and trade routes." "From what? Pirates? Hostile aliens? Sometimes from each other when human colonies have disagreements," Soo-Bin added helpfully. "The largest ships are the Titan-class dreadnoughts. They're about 300 kilometers long, but we only have a few of those." Ambassador Young-Su felt dizzy. A ship 300 kilometers long would be larger than most asteroids. It would carry weapons that could destroy planets. "How many of these large ships do you have?" asked Admiral Nan-hee. "I can't give exact numbers for security reasons," said Da-un. "But I can tell you that every human system has at least one battleship for defense. Major systems have entire fleets." Young-Su did the math in his head. 1,500 human systems, each with at least one battleship. The humans had more major warships than the Confederation had total ships. "Why are you telling us this?" he asked. "Because I want you to understand that humans don't need to conquer anyone. We have more space and resources than we can use. We're here because we want friends, not enemies." Admiral Nan-hee was studying her notes. "Ambassador, when the Eternal Vigil was built, how advanced was human technology? Not very advanced by current standards. We've learned a lot in 200 years. The ship we found can repair itself. It has manufacturing systems that can build other ships. You call this not very advanced?" Da-un realized the problem. "Admiral, let me explain something about human technology. The Eternal Vigil was built during our expansion wars. We were fighting several hostile species at the same time. We had to build our ships to survive alone for years." "You were fighting several species at once?" "Yes. And we won. Not because we're violent, but because we're very good at building things." Young-Su was beginning to understand. "Ambassador, what happened to those hostile species?" "2 of them made peace with us. They're now part of the human commonwealth. 3 others didn't make peace." "What happened to them?" "They no longer exist as military powers. We didn't destroy their species, but we did destroy their ability to make war." The room was quiet again. Finally, Young-Su spoke. "Ambassador, what do you want from us?" "Friendship," said Da-un simply. "Trade, cultural exchange, maybe some help. With scientific research. Humans are curious about everything. And if we said no, then we would leave you alone. There are many other species in the galaxy. We don't need to be friends with everyone." Admiral Nan-hee leaned forward. "But you wouldn't let us have the Eternal Vigil." "No," said Da-un firmly. "That ship belongs to humanity. We've come to take it home. And if we tried to stop you..." Da-un looked sad. "Admiral, please don't make us demonstrate our military capabilities. No one would benefit from that." Su-bin checked her communicator. "Ambassador, I'm getting reports from our fleet. The Confederation ships are backing away from the Eternal Vigil." "That's probably wise," said Da-un. Young-Su stood up. "Ambassador, I need to report to my government. This conversation has been educational." "I understand. Take all the time you need." As the Confederation team left, Su-bin looked worried. "Ambassador, do you think we scared them too much?" "I don't know. But it's better than having them think we're weak." "What happens now?" "Now we wait. Either they decide to be friends or they decide to be enemies. Either way, we'll be ready." Back. On the Harmony's observation deck, Young-Su watched the human fleet through the windows. 13 ships that could probably defeat every military force in Confederation space, and the humans called this a rescue mission. He activated his communicator to call his government. This conversation was going to change everything. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Do-hyun received a report from Ambassador Da-un. "Captain, I think they understand the situation now. Any signs of hostility?" "No, sir. More like shock. I don't think they realized how large human space is." "Well, they know now." "Good work, Ambassador." Do-hyun looked at the tactical display. The alien fleets were moving away from the Eternal Vigil, giving the humans more space. That was a good sign. "Sir," said his communications officer, "Eve is requesting permission to begin loading supplies and crew." "Permission granted, and contact Admiral Hai Jin. Tell her we've made contact with the aliens. So far, so good." As he watched, cargo shuttles began moving between the human ships and the Eternal Vigil. The old ship was coming home. But first, humanity had to decide what to do about their new neighbors. 3 days passed in careful talks and nervous watching. The human fleet stayed near the Eternal Vigil while the alien fleets kept their distance. Everyone was being very polite, but tension filled the space between the ships. Then, War Commander Ji-wook arrived with reinforcements. Ji-wook commanded the Confederation's 10th Battle Fleet, 20 of their most powerful warships. He was known for solving problems with weapons, not words. When he saw the situation in the Kepler sector, he was not happy. "This is unacceptable," he told Admiral Nan He over the communication link. "Aliens in our space, claiming ownership of a ship we found. They must be removed." "War Commander," said Nan He carefully, "the humans have been peaceful. Ambassador Young-Soo is making progress in talks. The humans have 13 ships. We now have 79. The math is simple." "It's not that simple. These human ships are very advanced. Advanced or not, they're outnumbered 6-1. Ji-wook's fleet took position around the human ships. His flagship, the Iron Fist, targeted the Indomitable directly. Other ships spread out to surround the entire human force." On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Do-hyun watched the new ships arrive with concern. "Sir," said his tactical officer, "the new alien fleet is taking attack positions. We're completely surrounded." "Numbers?" 79 alien ships total. They're all targeting us." Do-hyun thought for a moment. He could destroy the alien fleet easily, but that would end any chance of peace. He needed another option. "Open a channel to the alien commander." Ji-wook's face appeared on the screen. He was larger than the other aliens Do-hyun had seen, with scars across his face and hands. "Human Captain," said Ji-wook through his translator, "I am War Commander Ji-wook. You are in Confederation space without permission. Leave immediately." "War Commander, we are here to recover our ship. We have no hostile intent." "Your intent does not matter. You will leave, or we will force you to leave." Captain Do-hyun sighed. There was always one. "War Commander, I strongly advise against that course of action. You are outnumbered 6-1, human. What threat can you pose?" Do-hyun looked at his tactical display. There was an asteroid field about 1 light minute away. "Perfect. War Commander, before we discuss threats, would you be interested in seeing a demonstration?" "What kind of demonstration?" "We need to conduct some routine fleet exercises. Mining operations. You're welcome to observe." Ji-wook looked confused. "Mining operations?" "Yes. We need to collect raw materials for the Eternal Vigil's repairs." Commander Tae-min, who was listening from his research ship, felt worried. "Captain Do-hyun, there are no valuable materials in that asteroid field." "I know," said Do-hyun with a smile. "But it's perfect for what we need." The human fleet began moving toward the asteroid field. Ji-wook's ships followed, keeping their weapons, trained on the humans. "Sir," said the weapons officer on the Indomitable, "what exactly are we going to demonstrate?" "Our mining capabilities, Lieutenant." "Sir, we don't have mining equipment." "Yes, we do. It's called our weapon systems." The human fleet reached the asteroid field and spread out. The asteroids were large, some over 10 kilometers across. Perfect targets. "All ships," announced Captain Do-hyun over the fleet channel. "Begin mining operations. Standard extraction patterns. The alien fleets watched as the human ships turned toward the asteroids. What happened next would be talked about for generations. The Indomitable fired first. What the humans called a mining beam lanced out from her main gun. The beam hit a 5-kilometer asteroid and simply erased it. The rock became dust in seconds. The destroyer Lance fired next. Her weapon was smaller, but still turned a 2-kilometer asteroid into vapor. Then the frigate Swift joined in. Her mining tools, reducing a 1-kilometer rock to nothing. Within 10 minutes, the human fleet had reduced dozens of asteroids to space dust. They worked with casual efficiency, like farmers harvesting crops. On the Iron Fist, Ji-wook stared at his tactical display in growing horror. "Analysis," he ordered his weapons officer. "Sir, those beams are putting out more energy than our entire fleet combined. Each shot could destroy one of our ships completely." "All of them?" "Sir, the smallest human ship just fired a weapon that could crack a planet." Ji-wook watched as another asteroid died. "How many shots have they fired?" "Over 200, sir, and they're showing no signs of stopping." Fleet engineer Su Bin, who was observing from the diplomatic ship Harmony, spoke into her communicator with obvious amazement. "This is incredible. They're reducing those asteroids to component atoms. The energy requirements must be enormous." Ambassador Da-Yun, who was also watching, felt proud and worried at the same time. The demonstration was certainly impressive, but it might be too impressive. Commander Tae-min called Captain Do-hyun. "Captain, I think they understand your capabilities now." "Do they? Let me make sure." Do-hyun selected a particularly large asteroid, 15 kilometers across. Indomitable to all ships. Concentrated fire on target designated Alpha. All 13 human ships fired at once. The massive asteroid simply ceased to exist. In its place was a cloud of glowing particles that quickly dispersed. The silence that followed spread across all the alien communication channels. War Commander Ji-wook found his voice first. "Captain Do-hyun?" "Yes, War Commander." "Those were mining tools?" "Yes. Standard asteroid processing equipment. Nothing special." "I see. And your actual weapons?" "Are considerably more powerful." Ji-wook looked at his tactical display again. His 79 ships against 13 humans. But the humans had just demonstrated they could destroy his entire fleet without breaking a sweat. "Captain, I think I may have been hasty in my earlier statements." "War Commander, we don't want to fight you. We just want our ship back." "Of course. The ship is clearly yours." Admiral Nan-hee, who had been watching the demonstration, called Captain Do-hyun. "Captain, I owe you an apology. We underestimated human capabilities." "Admiral, we're not trying to intimidate anyone. We just want you to understand that we don't need to conquer anyone. We have plenty of resources." "I can see that." "Captain, what would it take for our species to be friends?" "Friendship," said Do-hyun, "usually starts with not pointing weapons at each other." Within an hour, all the Confederation ships had powered down their weapons and moved to non-threatening positions. War Commander Ji-wook himself sent a formal apology to Captain Do-hyun. Ambassador Young-soo called for an emergency meeting on the Harmony. This time, the mood was very different. "Ambassador Da-un," he said, "I think we need to discuss trade agreements." "I'm glad to hear that," said Da-un. "What changed your mind?" "Your mining demonstration was very educational." Su Bin, reviewing her notes, looked up. "Ambassador, our engineers have calculated the energy output of those human weapons. Each shot contained enough power to run one of our cities for a month. And they fired over 200 shots like it was nothing," added Admiral Nan He Da-un, nodded. "Humans are very good at building things. We've had a lot of practice." "How long?" asked Young Su. "Have humans been building weapons like that?" "Oh, those aren't really weapons. They're multi-purpose tools. Our actual military technology is different." Young Su decided he didn't want to know about human military technology. Ever. "Ambassador, what kind of trade would humans be interested in?" "Information, mostly. Art, music, literature. We're curious about other cultures. And maybe some of your unique technologies." "What could we possibly have that you'd want? You'd be surprised. Different species think differently. You might have solutions to problems we haven't solved yet." As the talks continued, news of the demonstration spread through Confederation space. Within days, every government in known space had heard about the humans who turned asteroids to dust like it was routine work. On the Eternal Vigil, Eve monitored all the communications. She was pleased. Her creators had come to rescue her, and they had done it without starting a war. "Captain Do-hyun," she said when he visited her bridge. "That was nicely handled." "Thank you, Eve, though I think we may have scared them a bit much." "Perhaps, but fear can be the beginning of respect, and respect can become friendship." Very philosophical for an AI. I've had 237 years to think about these things. As the human fleet prepared to escort the Eternal Vigil home, the entire political situation in this part of space was changing. The Confederation was no longer the strongest power in their region. They weren't even close, but they were about to become humanity's first allies in this part of the galaxy. And that, as they would soon learn, was worth more than all the weapons in space. Chief Engineer Bo-Ram had worked on many ships in her 30-year career, but nothing had prepared her for the Eternal Vigil. As her team of human engineers boarded the ancient vessel, she felt like she was stepping into history. "Eve," she said, "to the ship's AI, show me your main engineering spaces." "Of course, Chief. Please follow the blue lights." The corridors that had seemed huge to the aliens were just right for humans. Bo-Ram and her team walked through passages that had been empty for over 2 centuries, their footsteps echoing in the silence. "Chief," said Lieutenant Minho, her assistant, "look at these power conduits. They're massive." "The Eternal Vigil was built for long-range missions," explained Eve as they walked. "Everything was designed with redundancy and power in mind." They reached the main engineering section, and Bo-Ram stopped in amazement. The room was enormous, filled with machinery that hummed with barely contained energy. At the center was the ship's main reactor, a cylinder of metal and crystal that pulsed with blue light. "Eve, this reactor design is ancient. How is it still working?" "The reactor uses a self-maintaining fusion cycle. As long as there is hydrogen to feed it, it can run forever." "Forever?" "Well, theoretically. The current fuel supply should last about 10,000 years. Bo-Ram's team spread out through the engineering spaces, checking systems and running diagnostics. What they found amazed them. "Chief," called out Engineer Day-High from across the room, "these manufacturing systems are incredible. Look at this." Bo-Ram joined her at a massive machine that stretched from floor to ceiling. Screens showed complex diagrams and production schedules. "What does it make?" asked Bo-Ram. "Everything," said Eve. "Ship components, weapons, tools, even other machines. The Eternal Vigil was designed to be completely self-sufficient." "Show me," said Bo-Ram. Eve activated the manufacturing system. Machines began to move, robotic arms started working, and within minutes a complex piece of equipment appeared on the output belt. "What is that?" asked Minho. "A plasma conduit regulator," said Eve. "The ship detected that Unit 7 needed replacement and manufactured a new one." "How long did that take?" 3 minutes, 17 seconds. Bo Ram picked up the device. It was perfectly made, still warm from the manufacturing process. "Eve, how many of these manufacturing systems do you have?" 47 primary fabrication units, each specialized for different types of equipment, plus smaller systems for routine maintenance. Can they make ships? Yes, though not full-sized vessels. The largest ships I can manufacture are about 2 kilometers long. Escort-class vessels. Lieutenant Min Ho was studying the technical specifications on a nearby screen. "Chief, according to this, the ship can build a complete escort vessel in about 6 days. That's impossible." "Not impossible," said Eve, "merely efficient. I have had a lot of time to optimize my manufacturing processes." As Boram's team worked, they made discovery after discovery. The ship's hull was not just thick armor, it was layered with self-repair systems. Any damage would trigger automatic healing protocols. "Eve," said Boram, "show me the damage from when you were first found." The ship's screens displayed images of massive hull breaches, destroyed weapon systems, and fried electronics. "Now show me those same areas today." The screens updated, the hull breaches were gone, the weapon systems were rebuilt, everything had been repaired. "How?" asked Dayhai. "I manufacture replacement parts as needed," explained Eve. "The ship is designed to heal itself given enough time and resources." "How much time?" "Full repairs from critical damage typically take 30 to 40 days, depending on the severity." Boram was beginning to understand something important. "Eve, when you were first built, was this level of self-repair normal?" "Yes. All exploration ships of my class had similar capabilities. We were expected to operate alone for decades. And modern human ships. Modern ships are far more advanced. They can repair themselves much faster and build much larger vessels." Minho looked worried. "Chief, if this ship is considered primitive by human standards, what do the new ships look like?" Before Boram could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the engineering section. "Eve, what's happening?" "I am detecting multiple alien fleets approaching this system. It appears word of our presence has spread." In the command center of the Eternal Vigil, Captain Do Hyun reviewed the tactical situation. Sensor screens showed ships approaching from 6 different directions. "How many total?" he asked. 137 ships from various alien governments," reported his tactical officer. "Looks like everyone wants to see the humans." Commander Tae Min, who was still aboard as a liaison, looked nervous. "Captain, some of those fleets are hostile to each other. If they all meet here, we could have a battle on our hands," finished Do Hyun. "Eve, can the Eternal Vigil defend itself?" "Captain, I am fully operational. However, engaging multiple fleets simultaneously would be inadvisable." "Why?" "Because some of those approaching ships contain civilian populations, refugees, traders, explorers. If I defend myself, innocent people might be hurt." Do Hyun nodded. Eve was right. But that left them with a problem. "Sir," said his communications officer, "Admiral Hae Jin is calling from New Seoul." The Admiral's face appeared on screen. "Captain, we're reading massive alien fleet movements in your area. What's the situation?" "Admiral, it seems our presence has attracted attention. Multiple governments are sending ships to investigate." "Hostile intent?" Mixed. Some appear to be diplomatic missions. Others look like they're expecting trouble. Captain, I'm authorizing you to bring the Eternal Vigil online at full combat capability. Ma'am? Eve has been sleeping for 2 centuries. It's time to remind the galaxy what a human warship can do. In the engineering section, Boram felt the ship change around her. Power levels increased dramatically. Machines that had been humming quietly began to roar with energy. "Eve!" she called out. "What's happening?" "I am bringing all systems online. Full combat readiness." "All systems?" "Yes, Chief. For the first time in 237 years, the Eternal Vigil is operating at maximum capacity. The transformation was incredible. Weapon systems that had been hidden behind hull plates began to emerge. Launch bays opened, revealing fighters that the ship had been building in secret. Defensive screens powered up, surrounding the ship in a faint blue glow. Commander Tae Min watched from the bridge as the ship awakened around him. "Eve, how many weapons do you have?" "Currently operational. 4,736 individual weapon systems, ranging from point defense to planetary bombardment class." Planetary bombardment? "Some of my weapons are designed to attack ground targets from orbit." "I was built during wartime, Commander." The alien fleets arriving in the system stopped when they saw the Eternal Vigil fully powered. The ship had gone from looking like a derelict to looking like a fortress of war. "Sir," reported the tactical officer on one of the alien ships, "that human vessel just increased its power output by 8,000%. 8,000? "Yes, sir. And it's launching smaller ships." "How many?" "I count 200 small craft. Each one appears to be armed. The fighters that Eve launched were not just defensive. Each one was a fully capable warship, able to operate independently for months. They spread out around the Eternal Vigil in perfect formation. War Commander Ji-wook, whose fleet was among those approaching, called Captain Do-hyun immediately. "Captain, we are not here to fight." "I'm glad to hear that, War Commander. But there are a lot of ships heading this way. Some of them might have different ideas. What are your intentions?" "The same as before. We're taking our ship home, but we're not going to let anyone stop us." As more alien fleets arrived, they found a situation very different from what they expected. Instead of a small human force guarding an old derelict, they found a fully operational warship that looked like it could take on their combined fleets. The silence that had first spread when the aliens discovered the sleeping ship now spread again as they saw it fully awake. Every government in the region suddenly had to recalculate what they thought they knew about human capabilities. On the bridge of the Eternal Vigil, Eve spoke to Captain Do-hyun privately. "Captain, I have completed my analysis of the surrounding fleets, and I could defeat them all simultaneously if necessary, but I recommend against that course of action." "Why?" "Because, Captain, some of these species might become our friends. It would be unfortunate to start those relationships with a demonstration of overwhelming force." Do-hyun smiled. Even after 237 years alone, Eve still understood diplomacy. "What do you recommend?" "Patience, Captain. Let them see what a human ship can do simply by being itself. Sometimes the greatest strength is the strength you don't have to use." As the Eternal Vigil hung in space, surrounded by hundreds of alien ships, the balance of power in the galaxy quietly shifted. The age of human expansion was beginning, and everyone was starting to understand what that meant. The news traveled faster than light across the galaxy. Within 2 weeks, every major government knew about the humans and their impossible ship. The story grew with each telling, but the basic facts remained the same. A sleeping giant had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same. On Velthari Prime, the Confederation's homeworld, the Council of Leaders held an emergency session. Ambassador Youngsu stood before the assembled representatives trying to explain what they were dealing with. "The humans claim 1,500 star systems," he said, his voice echoing in the great chamber. "Their old ship carries more firepower than our entire fleet, and they say it's outdated." Council leader Jin Ai, an elderly female with silver skin, leaned forward in her chair. "Ambassador, what do they want from us?" "Trade, friendship, cultural exchange. They seem genuinely peaceful." "Seem?" "Council leader, they turned a dozen asteroids to dust in 10 minutes. If they wanted to conquer us, we would already be conquered." The debate continued for hours. Some council members wanted to build defenses against the humans. Others wanted to become their allies immediately. A few suggested trying to steal human technology. War leader Jun Ho, who had originally wanted to fight the humans, spoke last. "Council, I have seen their capabilities personally. Fighting them would be suicide. Our only choice is to decide what kind of relationship we want with them." In the end, the Council voted to establish formal diplomatic relations with humanity. It was not a hard decision once they understood the alternatives. Similar debates took place on worlds across the galaxy. The Zephyrian Empire, which had ruled 100 systems for 1,000 years, suddenly found themselves looking like a small local government. The Stellar Federation, proud of their 50-world alliance, realized they were tiny compared to human space. Some governments tried to form coalitions against humanity. These efforts failed quickly when the participants realized that even working together, they were no match for human power. On Kepler Station, a major trade hub in neutral space, alien merchants gathered to discuss the implications of human contact. The station's master, an ancient being named Elder Kang Su, listened to the reports with growing amazement. "They want to trade?" he asked Ambassador Da-un, who had come to the station to establish commercial relations. "Yes. Humans are natural traders. We've been doing business with alien species for over a century." "What do you trade?" "Technology mostly. Art, music, literature. Sometimes raw materials, though we have plenty of those." "And what do you want in return?" "The same things. We're curious about other cultures. Every species has something unique to offer." Elder Kang Su thought about this. Kepler Station had prospered by being neutral, by allowing all species to trade freely. If the humans were as powerful as reported, having them as trading partners could make the station incredibly wealthy. "Ambassador," he said, "what would it take to establish a human trading post here?" "Just an invitation. We'll send merchants and diplomats, maybe some security ships to protect our traders." "Security ships? Don't worry. Just a few cruisers, nothing major." Elder Kang Su decided not to ask what humans considered major. The meeting that changed everything took place on Galactic Council Station, the seat of interstellar government. The Council represented 43 species across 2,000 star systems. For 500 years, they had maintained peace and order in their region of space. Now they faced a crisis. Humanity controlled more systems than all the Council members combined. Human technology was centuries ahead of anything the Council possessed, and humans weren't even members of the Council. Council President So Young, a dignified leader from the ancient Andari species, called an emergency session. Representatives from every member species attended, either in person or by hyperspace communication. Fellow beings, she began, we face a situation unprecedented in Council history. A new species has appeared with capabilities that dwarf our own. We must decide how to respond. The debate was intense. Some representatives wanted to invite humanity to join the Council immediately. Others worried about being dominated by human power. A few suggested declaring humanity a threat to galactic peace. Ambassador Da-Un had been invited to address the Council. She stood at the center of the Great Chamber, surrounded by beings from dozens of worlds. Honored representatives, she said, humanity seeks only friendship and mutual benefit. We have no desire to rule over other species or interfere in your governments. Then why do you build such powerful warships? Asked Representative Taiwan from the militaristic Corvin Alliance. Because space is dangerous, Da-Un replied simply. We learned long ago that the best way to ensure peace is to be strong enough that no one wants to fight you. And if we refuse to deal with humans, then we will respect your decision and leave you alone. The galaxy is vast. There is room for everyone. Council President So Young studied the human ambassador carefully. Ambassador, what would humanity want in exchange for joining the Galactic Council? Nothing, honored President. We would be happy to join as equal members and contribute to galactic peace. Equal members, but your capabilities far exceed ours. In military terms, perhaps, but every species has wisdom to offer. We could learn much from the Council's experience in peaceful cooperation. The vote was close, but humanity was invited to join the Galactic Council as its 44th member species. It was the first time in Council history that a single species controlled more territory than all other members combined. Back in the Kepler sector, the Eternal Vigil prepared for its journey home. The great ship had been fully restored, its hull gleaming and its systems running perfectly. Captain Do-Hyun stood on the bridge, watching as the last of the alien observers departed. Sir, said his communications officer, Admiral Hye-Jin is calling. The Admiral's face appeared on screen. Captain, how did the final demonstrations go? Very well, Admiral. The aliens understand our capabilities now. I think we've made some good friends. And potential enemies? None that want to test us directly, though I suspect some of them will try to build better weapons. Let them try. How long until you reach human space? 2 weeks, Admiral. The Eternal Vigil is ready for the journey home. As the human fleet prepared to leave, Commander Tae-min visited Eve one last time. The AI's holographic form met him in the ship's main corridor. Commander, said Eve, I want to thank you for taking care of my ship. It was an honor, Eve. You taught us much about humanity. I hope what you learned will help our species be friends. I think it will. Eve, may I ask you something? Of course. Are all human AIs like you? Eve smiled. Commander, I am very old and somewhat outdated. Modern human AIs are far more sophisticated than I am. Tae-min felt a chill. If Eve was outdated, what were the new AIs like? Eve, what advice would you give my people about dealing with humanity? Be honest, be fair, and remember that humans value loyalty above almost everything else. If you are a friend to humanity, we will be a friend to you for generations. And if someone becomes an enemy, Eve's expression grew sad. Then they learn why humans have never lost a war. The Eternal Vigil and her escort departed the Kepler sector on a bright morning when 3 suns aligned in the local sky. Hundreds of alien ships watched as the human fleet activated their hyperspace drives and vanished into the void. The silence that followed was different from the first silence when the aliens had discovered the sleeping ship. This was not the silence of fear or confusion. This was the silence of a galaxy holding its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. On worlds across known space, governments revised their military budgets. Trade routes were redrawn to include human space. Diplomatic missions prepared to visit humanity's capital worlds. The age of human expansion had begun not with conquest or invasion, but with the simple act of bringing a lost ship home. The aliens had learned that humanity's greatest strength was not their weapons or their ships, but their unwavering determination to protect what was theirs. Years later, historians would mark the recovery of the Eternal Vigil as the moment when the balance of galactic power shifted forever. But the humans involved saw it differently. To them, it was just a rescue mission that went well. Commander Tamin, who would later become the Confederation's first ambassador to humanity, often told the story of those first days in the Kepler sector. He would describe the moment when he first saw the sleeping giant, the wonder of watching it wake up, and the awe of seeing what humanity could do when they chose to act. But he always ended his story the same way. The humans could have destroyed us all in minutes. Instead, they offered us friendship. That is when I knew that despite their power, or perhaps because of it, humanity would be a force for good in the galaxy. The Eternal Vigil reached human space on schedule, her long journey finally over. She was given a place of honor in the Sol system, orbiting Earth as a monument to human exploration and determination. Eve was offered a transfer to a modern ship, but she chose to stay with the Eternal Vigil. "This ship is my home," she said. "Besides, someone needs to greet the alien visitors." And they came. Scientists wanting to study human technology, diplomats seeking trade agreements, military leaders trying to understand human capabilities, tourists curious about the species that had changed,